Hi, this is Krista Craig from Krista Craig Real Estate, and you are watching my first YouTube video in my series called Inspect Your Home. And today we are going to talk about wet basements, and as a seller and as a homeowner, what you need to do to ensure that your home passes a building inspection. Okay, so the first thing that we need to know when we are talking about wet basements is the basic layout of a basement. So when the houses are being constructed, it happens in three different parts. And this is obviously, I'm not a construction person, so this is very, very layman's terms, so bear with me here. But anyhow, first thing that happens is the footings are poured. And once the footings have dried, the concrete company comes back in and they pour the wall, which is the basement wall, otherwise known as the foundation of the home. The home is then built, and sometime after, the cement truck comes back and they pour the floor on top of these two structures here. Again, this is the wall, and this is the footing of the house. So that is the basic setup of pretty much every basement that has a proper foundation done. And there's two differences between most of the homes that you're going to find. In newer homes, you're going to find the drainage around the home is in the form of an O-pipe, which runs the perimeter of the basement floor and generally shoots that water out to the street into the stormwater management. The second type that you're going to find is a sump pump, which is located within the house, and essentially it's the same thing. A drainage system drains the water which is around the perimeter of the house, but rather than shooting it out to the street, it's going into your sump pump hole, and then your sump pump shoots that water out into your yard somewhere or out to the ditch or something like that. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to talk about is, now that we've reviewed the basement structure, we're just going to talk about how the water is actually getting into your basement. Where's that water coming from? And from being on dozens and dozens of home inspections, I can tell you that the most common, two common things that I've seen in home inspections are the grading of the soil around the perimeter of the home, or improperly used downspouts diverting rainwater away from the house itself. So I'm going to talk about those two things and what you can do to make sure that your house has the best water drainage, hopefully to alleviate some of that the water problems that you might be having. Just so you know, I've heard a statistic that probably about 80% of water problems in basements come from either poor grading or from poor use of downspouts. So I'm hoping that you'll find this information useful. Okay, so first thing, I just want to point out one more time that within the foundation of the home, there are ways that water can get into the basement should the soil become overwhelmed with water and unable to shed it away from the house as quickly as it's supposed to. And if you are getting water in your basement, you're probably going to start seeing, and if they are from either your downspouts or your grading, you're probably going to see them coming up from the corners of the floors, just like this picture here shows, which is, if I zoom back to this picture here, right, this area right here that I was telling you about, that is pretty much from the soil in this area becoming overwhelmed and the water not being able to get away fast enough. We will talk about the proper grade. So obviously this is the foundation of your house, and a proper grade would slope the water away from your house and shed it away so that it's not going down the foundation, as opposed to if a grade was going the other way, it would just literally dump the water down into the foundation there. So there's that, and here's a picture of a properly graded home. This home is obviously not a new home, but over the years it's just been properly maintained. They've gone in probably on an annual or maybe semi-annual basis and just added a little bit of soil along the side of the wall, and probably put some grass seed down. And so when it rains, that water is just it's heading away. It's going away from that house. On the other hand, we have this house here, which shows the grading, and it's actually going directly towards the house. So every time it rains, all that water is going to be running right into this basement here. And if you look here in the corner, it already looks like there's a crack. The next thing that we're going to talk about is downspouts. So this is pretty typical setup for a downspout in most people's homes. You've got the water spout coming down off the roof and then shooting it away from the foundation, and that is the correct way of doing it. Everyone's seen these. This is a downspout coming off the roof, going into a pipe that's been buried under the ground. And if you have these, run, do not walk to get rid of them. You really should be installing something similar to this. Do not put that water, that drain into the ground here. You want it diverted away from the house, and theoretically those down in-ground drains would divert from the house, but the problem with them is that they end up getting clogged up with debris from your leaves and whatnot that are washing down from the gutters, and in the winter they can block up with an ice dam, so when the water actually starts flowing into them, it can't go anywhere. It just ends up overflowing, and obviously it's going to be headed right down into your basement foundation. Here's another example of, okay, we've diverted the water off the roof, but where's that water going? Well, it's just going to fall right here, and it's going to end up all along your foundation wall, and end of the day you're going to end up having a wet basement from that. Here's a doozy of a picture. You see this guy here, he's got a downspout coming in. Not only does he have it coming into an in-ground diversion pipe. Normally these pipes would run that water like out to the road, out to the storm water, but in this case, it's obviously backed up, and not only does he have that, but he's got poor grading too, so it's backing up, and then the water is pouring out, and then it's just going right back down into the foundation. So I would not be surprised at all if this guy is a wet basement. Thanks for tuning in. You've been watching Inspect Your House with me, Krista Craig, and I will be putting these videos on my YouTube channel on a fairly regular basis, so check back often. And I just want to remind everyone, I'm not an expert in foundations or in drainage, but as a realtor, I've been on ton of home inspections, and I've heard this advice over and over and over again. It's relatively easy, nothing is overly expensive that I've mentioned, and if it keeps your basement dry, it's totally worth it. So again, thanks for stopping by, and I shall see you soon.